This next question is related to the discussion on school choice. Connecticut has 18 public charter schools, more than 60 magnet schools, and a choice program that does allow urban children to attend suburban schools, though that has been limited to some extent by the suburban district's willingness or unwillingness to take those students. What are the state's options for expanding school choice, especially given the current funding crisis? We'll start with Mr. Foley.
Well, I covered some of that in my previous answer, but I think that the charter schools are, for the most part, performing well. They are good models and incubators for reform, and yet there are never going to be enough charter schools in this state soon enough to take care of the vast majority of our children who are not receiving adequate educations in our inner cities. So we need to take what's being learned there. We need to open as many additional charter schools as we can, as long as they're able to maintain quality. And yet we need to take the lessons learned there and apply them to our public schools. So choice is a very important part of that. As for funding, the funding to charter schools right now, as you know, is considerably less than it is to our regular public schools. It's about $9,000 a year. And there's no, so the difference of what it costs to provide that education has to be raised privately. Very difficult challenge for many of our charter schools. And there are no capital sources available as there are to our regular public schools for buildings. And so we need to enable additional sources of funding to our charter schools. As I said, we need to channel resources and money to our schools that are succeeding, and take them away from our schools that are not. So any charter school that's doing well, I think, should be a candidate for its fair share of the financing that the state has available for supporting public schools.
Mr. Malloy?
Yeah, listen, I'm the only guy running for governor who signed the application for 2 charter schools. I'm the only one running for governor who sponsored 2 charter schools. I'm the only one running for governor who actually moved his city in the direction of closing the gap between charter school funding and what the average amount spent in that school system was. You know, I've been a champion of charter schools since the day that the law was passed. I've made it very clear, as long as charter schools are public schools, I support them. But on a broader basis, I want to also be equally clear. We need to apply the lessons that we have already learned in the last, since 1996. We need to take those lessons and apply it to every school in the state. Likewise, I champion the creation of 2 state magnet schools in my community, and I'm happy to report that AITE and 2 out of the 3 SAT testing areas outperformed the state average in an urban environment, and that West Hill High School led its ERG and exceeded the SAT score statewide average in all 3 categories. You can make a difference. That's why you run for governor.
Mr. Marsh?
I'll agree with that. You can make a difference, and that is why you run for governor. Competition is one of the keys to my proposals for education reform. Competition in the marketplace, personally, I don't see why it has to be limited to public schools, but I think when we start getting to that public-private debate, you start creating a lightning rod that diminishes the value of the debate in whole. What I think we can learn from here is that charter schools, magnet schools, competition within the school market, competition within the teaching profession is creating a better environment. We really don't have to look too far. We can look at our college and university system where we already have to compete out there. They have to compete for the dollars, and we have one of the finest, if not the finest, college and university systems in the world in this country, and particularly here in Connecticut. So we see the value that competition brings. Something where we don't really need to create a lot of new magnet schools. It's not like we have to build new schools or create new schools. What we need to do, as has been mentioned, is incorporate what we've learned from the successes that we've seen into the existing school structure. You take an example like the University High School in Hartford. I think it pulls from 40 different communities. I think all the kids are happy to be going there, but I'm sure the transportation issues that are associated with that are, a little cumbersome. We're going through a growing pain. We're going in the right direction. I think what we can learn from this and what we need to understand is this isn't a problem that was created with our current fiscal crisis. This isn't a 2-year problem. This is a decades-old problem. Hopefully, the financial motivation that is bringing us to the debate here this evening will force us to move faster, which will break down the walls that have existed to prevent a quicker implementation of such things. That we're going to bring labor to the table. We're going to bring municipalities, state and federal funding all to the table to bring us to the common goal. But competition is going to be a key to that.